remember the before times, pre-COVID, when we all were so starved for topics of conversation that we went round and round about those dockless scooters that showed up in Denver? Oh, what a mess. Oh, they're a danger. Well, then the pandemic hit and we found that there are real issues in the world. But the scooters are back big time. Our Steve Stager found a new tool to track them with the goal of making streets safer.
Transportation, typically when we talk about volumes or miles traveled, typically people are referring to vehicle miles traveled.
Spend an hour in the heart of downtown Denver. You will quickly realize there are a lot more ways to log miles than being behind the wheel of a car.
I work at a regional agency, and I think we really want to get that big picture, how shared micromobility fits into our overall transportation system. Right?
Emily Lindsay works for Dr. Cog, the Denver Regional Council of Governments, not a medical doctor. But this doctor has a new prescription to figure out how many people are using those shareable scooters and bikes.
Up until this point, we've only really shared the data of that trip information with cities to help them track and manage their programs. But now we get to share that publicly.
Nellie Pearson is with the company that provides the data, Ride Report. And it's really cool data.
We saw that in the last 6 months here on 17th and Arapahoe, 42,000 bike and scooter trips happen.
Likely because this intersection has a protected bike lane. Infrastructure will be important because the same data shows scooters and bikes are making a post-pandemic comeback.
Before the pandemic, the highest trips per day was around 11,000, and that's throughout the entire region. So in one day, they saw 11,000 trips. And we recorded in the last quarter the cap at 32,000 trips a day.
Ride Report is making all of this data public so researchers, advocates, and city planners alike can figure out how to make streets safer.
We have X number of people kind of riding through this space, and if we have this many people, should we be improving the infrastructure to accommodate bicyclists and pedestrians in a comfortable and a safe and a connected way?
The good doctor, Dr. Cog, is using this data to figure out how the system works regionally. You've got Denver, Aurora, Boulder, Arvada, and Littleton that all have scooters and these e-bikes, the shareable bikes. Did you know that? We're going to put a link to this story on 9news.com a little later on tonight after I finish writing it so that you can check it out and potentially nerd out on all this stuff like me. I have to say, the suburbanite in me is super fascinated to see how many people are scooting and biking in Littleton with these things. It's fascinating, and you can look at the average trip length. Like in Littleton, it's about 0.8 miles, a little bit longer in the city of Denver. So they're going to take all this data and try to do something with it.
Suburban Steve, transit nerding out on this. I mean, I live in the city, but not near the city center, and did not see them in my neighborhood until I'd say like maybe the last 3 months. But with that tool, I can actually find out where are they coming from, where are they going.
Well, and I think a lot of the confusion of the beginning of this has died down. In the beginning, you saw, well, I think we had 4 or 5 different companies inside the city of Denver. Now it's regulated. There are specific contracts for Lime and for Lyft to have scooters and bikes within the city limits. There are places where they're allowed to park and where they're supposed to be parked, and you get incentivized if you park them in other places. So there's just more consistency now, and I think that might be part of the reason why you're seeing a lot more of these scooters around town.
Thank you, Steve.